Man, I wish we were talking about stress management today. That would be really handy. I don't know why I can't see this window anymore. I'm so delighted you're here. Thank you for your tenacity. Only Neen could fight her way through that technology
But
tunnel.
I think too, like Shannon, remember when there used to only be a dozen of us on Zoom, like when
Yes,
Zoom first came out, right? And
yes,
now, and especially I think for people, if you are scheduling things, the top of the hour is the time where everyone's trying to get on Zoom, right? And then
mhm,
with the new security procedures they put in place for all good
right.
reasons, that has changed things. So I'm honored to be one of your guests. I'm excited
Yay!
about our chat today.
Me too. And there's like so many topics that I want to cover, but I'm going to let you drive the ship here. But just so anyone who doesn't know Neen, which is probably no one on this call, she's a leadership expert. She's a keynote speaker. She speaks all around the world. Her topics are often around productivity, attention, really human connection. I think that you're a master of human connection. She's got a great blog. I'm going to put a couple of the links in the notes to this session because there's so many useful things that you've been putting out lately, like the fired, furloughed, and reinventing yourself.
Mm.
Hopefully we can use some of those tidbits that you shared in that blog. Amazing. She did this staying productive during quarantine, things to do. She's how to do virtual presentations, which I'm going to have to reread that one. She's just an amazing human being. So thank you for joining us, Neen.
What a privilege. Like I said, for those of you who don't know, Shannon and I go back like a bazillion years,
Yes.
and we both have the privilege of serving one of our clients together every year. We don't always get to see each other's session or each other, but it's been a wonderful way to stay connected. You know, I think one thing that people have to realize is wherever you are on your quarantine journey is where you are. And just full disclosure, when this all started, I was like, I'm going to be productive. I'm going to be amazing. I'm going to get fit and I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to drink gallons of water and I'm controlling everything. And yeah, so some days that doesn't happen. And I think wherever you are is where you are. But what I've realized for myself is I needed to put systems in place. People who know my body of work is all around attention, as you said, productivity and attention. And so one of the things I bravely, with such bravado, put into social media when this all happened, I was like, here's 10 things I'm going to do. One of them was to write a new book because, you know, I'm not flying, I'm not in a ballroom. So I thought, hey, I'm going to have all this time on my hands. And so one of my publishers reached out. They wanted to do a project together for a long time. And they were like, okay, are you serious? And I was like, oh, man, apparently. So yeah, so I mapped out my latest book and it's on systems thinking. So what I've realized for myself, Shannon, and there might be people here, and please feel free to jump in with questions on
Yeah.
these as
Yeah.
well,
Please
is
ask questions and I'll read them and share.
yeah, what systems could I develop for myself that would also be beneficial for my clients? And so I put together this 10 ways to stay focused, which we can absolutely talk about. And what I realized is I am a girl who loves to cross things off. I am a girl who loves to like check a box, and maybe people who are watching are the same. And so what I created was, it seems so silly, but I literally created a checklist for myself every day. So every Sunday I print out 7 of them, which I know is not environmentally friendly, but it works for me. And it has all kinds of things on it. And so what I realized is we have to develop systems of attention that are going to allow us to feel accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge with many leaders that I work with is they get a lot of their validation, recognition, their satisfaction from the role that they have as leaders. That hasn't changed. You're still leading a team. Oh, but you're adding homeschooling and cooking duties and staying sane duties on top of where you used to be able to leave your home environment and it was buffered by the people you work with, the people you stand in service of. And now there's this intensity that happened where you're trying to keep the peace at home and you are the mediator and you are the cook and you are like doing, I don't cook, I should probably, full disclosure. But one of the things that I think is frustrating is we have this expectation that we'll still have 100% productivity while we're still managing every other role in our life. And so I'm going to ask you just to extend grace to yourself, because Shannon and I have talked about grace in the past, because that's not going to be your reality. So all my executives I'm coaching, Shannon, I'm saying to them, if you're getting 30% productivity from your people right now, that's amazing, right? And so we need to extend grace to ourselves. So I share these systems with you. Some days they work, some days they don't. Okay, and so the reason I have this daily tracker, I'm happy to share it, Shannon, if that's helpful, but
Yeah,
it's just things I want to cross off my list. And so I think everyone could create their own of what's going to make you feel satisfied. Is that a fair disclosure before
that's a great disclosure. And I think it's really, yeah, Holly's saying, yes, please share. And we'll
it's not very sexy, Holly, but it's like, it works. It works for me. I've given it to some of my clients. They like it. So you're welcome to like do whatever you want with it.
Yes. And that you're the most generous human I know, for real. I mean, if I have a question, it's always a resource for me and everyone. And you're also a subject matter expert, which is why I wanted to share your wisdom with everyone today. This is your life's work that you've synthesized into a checklist, which, you know, I think your heart is saying, if this helps you a little, it makes me feel good. It's just, take it away.
Honey, that's what we're craving. It's just a little bit of feel good, right?
Yes. And you shared too that 30% productivity, and I've been quoting you on it. So I'm glad that you just said the same stat again. And because I think it has really helped to level out expectations. And I think people get frustrated when their expectations don't meet their reality. And so the two choices we have is to either change your expectations or change your reality. And right now the reality is what it is, right? So for you to give the freedom to say, hey, if you get 30% productivity on your teams, high five, congratulations.
I feel like though there are some certain things that you want to consider, and we'll get into the 10 ways to stay focused in a second, but just a couple of assumptions I'm going to make.
Great.
One assumption is that you have given yourself grace, that each day is very different. And that could be an hourly roller coaster for you. Some hours you feel great, you're conquering the world, it's amazing. And other hours you just want to bake cookies or eat cookies or drink wine. Like, I get that, okay? So that's okay. The other assumption I'm going to make is you have tried to create a grown-up space for yourself. Now, grown-up space to me means a place you're going to work. I would prefer it not from your bed, only because I'd rather you keep your bedroom, your actual bed, for what it is required for, and we don't need to go into that. What I want people to think about is that if you want to feel more productive, you need to create an environment that is conducive to that. So assumptions that I'm going to make is you've carved out a space. One of my clients is in a closet, and that was literally the only place they could find to keep the little people out and be able to have calls. But find a space. One client, it's in their car. When they have to do a Zoom call, they have to do it in their car. And that's just their reality. I have clients who are in tiny little New York apartments and people who have lake estates. So wherever you are is where you are. So just create something that is going to help you feel productive, where you can put your laptop, where you can elevate your computer. And by the way, just as little ladies who are watching, the only way to avoid lots of chins is stack up your laptop. So put it more at your eyesight with some books or a recycling bin or like something underneath so that you can elevate it. And I think, Shannon, I'll send you the link for Mark's presentation. Mark Bowden is genius body language expert. I'll send you the link, ladies. You can have that as well. So I'm saying ladies, but I know there's gentlemen.
Well, you know what? I'm looking, and they are at the moment all ladies.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Marty. Well, if a gentleman joins us, he can benefit from these things too. Okay, so there's some assumptions. So Shannon, shall I get into the 10 ways to stay focused during quarantine? Is that helpful?
Yes. And then I have other questions for you, but let's go there first.
Okay, the first thing is self-care. And the first thing that I believe every one of us needs to commit to is exercising. And there's some scientific reasons for that, but there's also some mental reasons for it. And one thing that I believe is that we as leaders have a responsibility to show up in the most energetic way we can right now. So finding an exercise that will be something you can consistently do. There are so many places now that are offering free. Peloton is offering their app for 90 days. Some of you know I'm obsessed with my Peloton. Yes. But on the Peloton, you can do yoga and meditation and boxing and all kinds of things. Bar 3, another thing I absolutely love, offering free. So find a YouTube channel. Beachbody is doing it. Find something that will, maybe you've always wanted to try it. This is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
or find something you can do with your own body weight, push-ups, squats, those type of things. I use J Method, so you may want to follow J Method. We can put all of this in the connections there, Shannon, but Jennifer Jacobs has free videos on Instagram TV. She has a travel kit that I bought. One of the best things I ever bought myself, because it's got resistance bands in it, and one lives in my travel bag and one lives in my gym. So there's ways you can exercise. I just want to encourage you that even if you hate it, just do it anyway. Like, because during this time, we might be eating more than we had assumed. We're certainly snacking more than we probably ever do. We might potentially, hypothetically, be drinking more than we ever have before. Maybe, just maybe. So so the first thing I want you to think about is self-care. And I think following that is, if you take care of yourself first, then you're opening yourself up to the second strategy, which is learning. This is a brilliant time to pull out those TED Talks you've been meaning to watch. It's a great time to sign up for masterclass. There's like hundreds of videos and courses you can do online, or watch something on YouTube. But I think now is a really good time to, if there's something you've wanted to learn or even something you've wanted to watch. Some Good News by John Krasinski is my favorite. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, oh my gosh. And what a lovely way just to learn, what a great use of YouTube. So he's role modeling, and I'm learning just watching from a production point of view how he is so elegantly and authentically. So I'm learning not just what he's talking about with the good news, but I'm watching what he's doing. Jimmy Fallon is doing things from his house with handmade signs from his girls. What they've done is they've changed media. Yeah. And so what I think we all need to do is look and learn, but watch what people are doing and see how they're delivering. Maybe you can't afford to create a crazy studio in your house, but maybe you could get one camera or one light that's going to make you feel better about that. So learning to do things like that. Does that make sense, Shannon?
That's great. Yeah. And it makes perfect sense. My learning curve has been like this, and it's mainly around technology. Ironically, I have a webinar later on Zoom, a couple hours too late, but it's just been so fascinating to learn how all of this works, how to use it better, how to leverage the resources so that we can stay connected. Because as much as we wish that we were in a room sitting in a circle with all the people on this call, they're adding comments in here, and we know that they're present with us. And it's just, you know, how can we leverage what we have? Because that's one of your strategies around intention pays, is how to turn technology into an asset for you rather than a distraction.
Yes.
And I think that's part of what you're saying here on the learning piece.
Absolutely. Also, too, when you think about it, while you're learning, drink. But I'm saying drink water. I think we have to be so careful now about, yes, good job. We have to be so careful about, sorry, I just dropped my microphone for people wondering what's happening. It's real life, people. One of the things that's important is that we need to hydrate even more, because we're talking more on camera and under lights in ways that we would normally break up that by getting out of our cube, walking out of our office, going down to do something. So really be conscious of drinking more water while you are going through this. And plus, too, some people are in air conditioning and those type of things, or heating, wherever you live in the world. Think about that. So I want you just to think about drinking things that are good for you to balance off the things that maybe aren't as good for you, hypothetically. And then the other thing I want people to consider is, as another strategy to stay focused, is to read more. But read things that are good for your soul. So one thing I love, I subscribe to Morning Brew, and Morning Brew is a financial newsletter. I'll send a link to you, Shannon, so people can click on that. But it's a financial newsletter. Now, let's be clear. This is not something I ever thought I would be advocating, but it's actually fun, and it's funny, and it's clever. And so that's the first thing that I read every day. And it gives me a snapshot. Now, what that also allows me to do is expose how much news I want to think about. So, you know, we have probably people on the line who are responsible, who are in the news industry. And so being able to curate some of that information is really helpful. So just think about what you're reading, and maybe you've got books you've been meaning to read, and now would be a really good time just to crack one open and just do a little bit, but do something that's really good for your soul. Read something inspirational every day, whether that is your own quiet time, whether that is a meditation journal, or just something that is going to help you feel like you are making progress. This is a component of self-care. What would you add to that, Shannon? Because I know you're a big reader.
Yeah, and I think that even rereading things that you know were nuggets for you back in the day, like, and this is interview aside, I pulled this baby out the other day.
Oh my gosh, it's so old. I love you still have that.
I wish it was dated, but it's signed. And I love this book. I reread the coaching and counseling section, and then there was a section on email etiquette.
Oh my gosh, that must be 15, 20 years old, that book. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
like it's a resource that, like a lot of other resources that you go, oh my gosh, this is so, like Give and Take, Adam Grant.
Oh yeah, there's so many classics. You're right. See, it's a really good time to reread, right? Yeah, that's a really good point.
You say, like, what could really feed me right now that can help me to strengthen my soul, to get clear, like even the in Stephen Covey's The Habits of Highly Effective People, and he has that quadrant view. And, talks about like the what's not urgent but important.
Right.
That's like, I'm going to prioritize those things.
And so, there's so many leaders on this call. And so if you're leading a team, I'd encourage you to share what you're reading with others and maybe even decide to create something you'll read together. So book clubs are quite famous for drinking wine and reading something fabulous. So maybe you as a team could talk about a particular chapter or a white paper or an industry or a trade mag or an article. But if you could send something to your team that says, hey, this is something I read today that was really helpful to me, you're then standing in service of your team and encouraging them to be on the same reading page as you. And I think this can be really just an easy connection tool for people. You might mix it up, something fun, something light, and then something that is actually going to develop them as well, right? So
yeah, one that I use in a mentoring program that is underway right now for women in technology is called How Women Rise.
Oh, I like this. I don't know this book. I need to read this book.
It's Break the 12 Habits Holding You Back from Your Raise, Promotion, or Job. And there are some things in this book, and I'll put this in our notes as well. There are things in this book that you mention in the Fired, Furloughed, and Reinvent Yourself.
Oh, really? That's so cool.
Yeah, and like one of the things that because I do like a discussion guide for the participants in the group. Nice. And this week's one was around prioritizing your job over your career. One of the tips that you share is around like updating your online presence and your resume, and like really just staying proactive about your career path and what you're looking for. And then there's another thing that you have in there that I want to ask you more about in a minute.
Okay, cool.
Brand statement. But go ahead.
Let's just power through a couple of others of the 10 ways to stay focused. Tracking is really important. Now, tracking could be very different for you. For me, this is literally called Neen's Daily Tracking. You can't see that, but I track 10,000 steps. Like I play this game. Can I do 10,000 steps by 10 a.m.? But tracking something that makes you feel like you're making progress. You as a team might decide this is what we're going to track this week, and then everyone gets to contribute. But have some kind of tracking so that it makes you feel like you've got an accomplishment. Some of the days blend together when they all feel the same and you're working in the same space. So find something that will inspire you to track. I was playing this game of trying to drink 3 liters of water by 3 p.m. Boy, oh boy. I was spending a lot of time tracking to the bathroom, but like do something that is like something that feels good for you. The next strategy is organizing. And organizing, I don't know about you, but I'm watching all these people on Instagram and Facebook, and they're like organizing their closets and they're doing all these things. That's amazing. Bless them all. But maybe organizing might feel like organizing the electronic files. Like, when's the last time you cleaned out your hard drive? When's the last, right? And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is a good time that you might just I play a game with my cell phone. So here's what I do. This is an insight into the crazy town that is my head. I set the timer on my iPhone, and then I go into a file, and for 15 minutes, I clean out old files. I found files pre-2000 on my computer because I thought I needed them for something. I don't. So you could just play this game a couple times a week, but do something that makes you feel a little more accomplished, because I tell you, by the time this quarantine is over, we're going to feel more organized.
Yeah. So you said it for 15 minutes. 15
minutes. I do it a couple times a week. Here's the other thing. If I have a honey who loves to watch TV, which is great for many people watching this. And so sometimes he's watching a show that does not interest me, but I'll sit there with my computer and I'll think, okay, I could multitask, pretend that I'm watching the show and be there in the same room as my love and I could be organizing my files. I know it's not very romantic, but for me, it makes me feel better. So do whatever makes you feel better, right? Organizing can be a way to do that. Also, to think about The Well-Dressed Life is a brilliant blog by a lady by the name of Megan Christel, a dear friend, a great stylist, genius, super smart, doing some amazing things for her community during quarantine. So definitely check her out. But she's just had this 4-week challenge of cleaning out your wardrobe. And it's a genius challenge because each week she shares with you what you could do. If you've been meaning to do that, but you haven't got around to it, this could be a fun, fun time to do it. Next strategy, Shannon, is writing. And I want people to think about, so for me, for example, on my little checklist, it says send a love note. So every day before I go for my walk, I write a love note to someone, pop it in my letterbox so the postman can get it every day. But write something to someone, an encouragement in an email, a note you've been meaning to send, maybe a handwritten note to someone, because people are still getting their mail. Right. But one thing you could do is you could sit down and write a note to every team member that you have, just about how much you appreciate what they're doing to keep the team together. There's so many ways you could write. But just write something. Write on social media something positive. I'm choosing to post positive every day, wherever I humanly can. And so I'm also choosing to write on other people's walls. If I see someone who's really being a light in the world right now, I encourage that, right? So, and I'm not paying attention to the crazy people, but one thing I'd love you to do is think about, what could I write today that might inspire someone else? Shannon, you're really good at this.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm a believer in generosity anyway, and this time in our lives has brought out the creativity and generosity in people in ways that I can't even imagine. So I wanted to, every day I do a post on an organization and what they're doing and how they're helping. And it really makes me feel good. And then I feel like I can be that inspiration and give people some recognition and also inspiration. I may not be able to donate $1 billion. Like today, we're going to talk about the CEO of Twitter, but I could donate $10, $50, whatever. Yeah. And like to the food bank or the Feed the Hungry or the however I feel like I can contribute. So I feel like when we share those positive stories, that it's not to make anybody feel shameful and guilty. It's more to help people feel inspired and energized. Like, part of a human community that cares about people, and maybe my gift is something else, like a talent or maybe time.
Yeah, exactly. Megan Christel is the stylist I mentioned. Gail had asked about that, and it's Kristel. Megan Christel, I said she's doing some great things in her community, Shannon. One of the real feel-good stories that I saw that she did was she realized she wanted to support local business, and she lives outside Philadelphia, and she wanted to be able to help the healthcare workers. So she decided to set up a GoFundMe page for their community. They use the money from GoFundMe to support the local restaurants to deliver food to the healthcare workers. Yeah. I mean, genius. And I mean, when she first started, in weeks, she had raised $7,000 and all the money's being used, right? So I feel like the talents, the time, the encouragement, we all have these gifts. And she has a great platform. I love reading what she writes every day. And she does a daily blog too. So I think we just need to consider, what am I good at? What could I do? What's my light in the world? And then let that shine, right? So that's an easy way to stay focused. And also, here's the thing, and we all know this to be true. When we're helping someone else, we can't spiral down the pity party that we've all been there. And if you haven't been there, well, you'll get there. And so that snacks you out of it, because when you're standing in service of someone else, you're not focused on yourself. And I think that's a really good strategy for all of us to stay focused during quarantine, is standing in service of everyone else, right? Other quick ideas for the quarantine list is some practical things. Use your cell phone for good, not evil. So shoot video messages and text them to people, like sing happy birthday to someone and then send it to them. We can use technology for such good things. And we're on video. For some of us, we're on Zoom 12 hours a day, or Microsoft Teams, or whatever your company is using. But using video messaging is a really easy way to stay connected to people and make them feel like maybe they can't like touch you and cuddle you like they want to, but they can see you. And things like this, Shannon, that you're creating are great. I'd love people to consider the kind of emails they're sending to. We are so quick to just respond and just get it out of our inbox. But just in this time, be more thoughtful, more conscious, more kind. And people don't have the benefit of tone and they already miss you. So being able to add a little bit of kindness to every email would be really helpful right now. A simple greeting. And don't say to people, how are you? Nobody's good right now. People, like, it's such a crazy question. Like, nobody knows how to answer that question. And so we need to be conscious of the words we're using and be really careful and make sure we're listening more intently right now. So that's just some of the ways we can do it.
Neen, what do you recommend we say instead?
I caught myself, I was doing early in this, I was doing one of my Facebook Lives for people who had been furloughed or people who had been fired very early in. And I heard myself say, for those of you stuck at home, and I was like, no, not stuck at home, safe at home. I feel like we need to be very conscious about our word choices. Nobody's stuck at home, you're safe at home. And there are people who are literally like, I found it really tough Easter Sunday, and I celebrate Easter. I have very deep beliefs, and it was tough for me because I realized that I was very safe and I live in a beautiful house and I have a gorgeous view. I am very spoiled. I get that. And there are people out there who are literally, we don't even know if they're going to make their next Easter. And there's people who put their lives on the line to keep these people safe and comfortable. And so I feel like it's really easy to roller coaster right now. And words matter, the kind of words that we tell ourselves, the kind of commentary that we have about ourselves, our body, the way we're coping, the way that we speak to people in our house. I know if you are fortunate to share your life with someone, it's a long time to see that same person day in, day out with no break. And they need your kindness, the little snippy things that are happening in homes. We just need to be really conscious about being more kind. Let's not use any kind of accusatory language. Lots of people are tired. Lots of people are overwhelmed. Lots of people are stressed. And so I have found, my mom used to say to me, Shannon, when I was a little girl, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And if we were about to say something bad, she would say to us, bite your tongue. Like, and so as a kid, I would literally bite my tongue. So if I was going to say something ugly or unkind, I would bite my tongue. And I keep thinking of my mom during this time, because I think to myself, if it's not going to be kind and it's not going to be helpful, then be quiet. That's it. Yeah. And I think we need to be conscious of the people we share our lives with in our team. Our team are craving that connection with you as their leader. Our colleagues are we're missing those conversations. So let's be even more diligent about not using words like urgent or ASAP. They're stupid words anyway. Nobody pays attention to that. And so let's talk about time. Let's use guidelines. Hey, can I have it by 11 o'clock East Coast time so I can turn it around before we finish at 5? Like, let's talk more specifically, because we don't have the opportunity to see your face sometimes or hear your tone. But just let's eliminate those ugly negative words wherever we can.
That's so beautiful, Neen. And I read something recently. It was, I believe, by Rumi, a philosopher from decades ago. And he said, before anything leaves your mouth, may it pass through 3 gates. The first gate is it true? The second gate is it kind? And the third gate is it necessary?
So good. So good. I have this gorgeous friend, Lily, that I walk with every day. We've been in quarantine ever since the beginning together. So we do not walk 6 feet apart. We get really dirty looks from all our neighbors, but we've been doing it every day and we're still doing it. And she is the one who highlighted that to me about 2 weeks ago. And I thought those 3 gates were so valuable. And look, we don't always comply to the 3 gates. I know it's easy just to snap, and I know it's easy to lose our temper, and I know it's easy to be frustrated. And I just want to challenge people, because you are leaders, be the bigger person. Don't engage in the negativity. Step away. Do whatever you have to do. But let's really choose kindness right now more than anything else. If you can pay attention to kindness, and look, not everyone's going to be kind to you, but you can be the bigger person. You, not even the bigger person, you can choose kindness, just full stop. We have a mutual friend, Barb Cohen. Barb is so about kindness. Like, this is one of her core values. And I often think of her like, and I think we could all channel more of Barb. We could be so much more kind wherever we can. Let's just choose kindness right now.
I love it. Oh, that's so good. And then your next one is listening.
Ah. So here's the thing with listening. We all think we're listening, but we're not. And so we're on these Zoom calls or these team calls and we mute people and we're checking our email and we're doing all these things. And I want to challenge people right now to really listen, not listen for what's being said, listen for what's not being said. As leaders, you need to be able to read between the lines. And you have people who are hurting, you have people who are lonely, you have people who are scared, you have people who have all these crazy emotions where one time they're feeling like really energized and great, and then the next hour they're feeling all alone. So we have to listen for these cues as leaders. And don't just say to someone, how you doing? Because they're going to give you the probably rehearsed response.
Mm-hmm.
You need to ask questions like, how can I specifically help you today? Where are you on the roller coaster today? What's getting in the way of this project for you today? And let's talk about today. Let's talk about right now. And so when we're listening, I think we have to be very diligent in listening to the people we share our lives with. If you have the fortunate pleasure to be having little people who you might be homeschooling right now, they need your attention just like your boss needs your attention, and they're not used to having to split your attention as much. So when you're with them, listen. When you're with your boss, listen. But that means you have to set up rules. So I have a Post-it note on my door in my office. My husband and I are very fortunate. We have our own offices in our home. But if I'm recording, I'll put recording because I do so much video work. I don't really want him like Zoom bombing one of my client appointments. So but that's an agreement we have, right? So we have to listen and create cues with each other. If you have little people, tell them what that looks like. And that you will listen when this happens, if you have calls, so that we have structure. Now, we're getting so forgiving about, cats walking across video cameras and partners walking through our calls. Yeah. We've got so relaxed about these standards right now, and hopefully some of that sticks. I really hope that's one of the things that sticks after this. Yeah. Whatever the new normal, there's no normal, whatever happens when this is all over, I hope we do get a little more relaxed. But something that's been interesting is listening to some of the leaders that I work with, Shannon, and realizing they've come to the understanding that their team can function remotely. They don't need everyone in the office. And so I feel like there will be some really positive things that will come out of this too. And I've been encouraging all the executives I work one-on-one with, just to say, I want you to really listen to what your team are telling you right now. And I want you to see how they are achieving these results without being in the office. So I feel like we need to be better at listening, full stop.
Agreed. It's a skill, and it's more than just not talking. What you're saying is it's reading between the lines, asking better questions, asking higher quality questions.
Yeah.
Even what's going well or what's one small win from this week. I mean, it could just be like, my one small win is that I, finished this project and the whole team worked together, or it could be something small like I was able to get eggs from the grocery store.
Which is kind of a big deal because it's like one limit per customer, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, especially if people are baking as much as I hear everybody is. And then your last one on this big, amazing list is emailing. Tell me about that.
And this is something that I alluded to. Email is a really easy solution, and we're quick and we respond, but I'm just going to invite you just to go that extra effort with email. And this is a good time to clean out your inbox too, if you don't have as much commuting time and things like that you may have had in the past. But also too, let me give you a tip. If you have an email that's older than 2 weeks in your inbox, you're not going to answer it. I know you want to. I get that you have the best of intentions, but you won't, because you have hundreds more that have taken its place. If you have any emails that are over 2 weeks old, just get rid of them, because you're not going to do anything with them. Just put them in a separate folder if you need to find them. But let's try and be even more diligent with the kind of emails we're writing. Let's try and make it even more of yourself. Like, I am definitely known to have my personality in every email. And I understand I work for myself, so I have some freedoms. Not everyone watching has those same freedoms because you have corporate guidelines. But let's be even kinder. Let's use greetings. Let's be more thoughtful. And let's make sure that we're really rereading things before we press send. Because we don't have the luxury of popping into your cube or your office, as I said earlier, just to see if we kind of understand what you mean. And also too, people are listening to voicemails and they're listening to video messages. So if it's more impactful to send a video message or say, hey, let's jump on a quick team call or let's jump on a quick Zoom, that might be even more impactful than emailing. So choose your modality of message delivery.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you for that. So I want to give you all an opportunity to ask some questions for Neen, things that are on your mind, things that are just think you're working things out, or you're like, gosh, I just can't seem to get my head around how to, get motivated for these certain things. Or, one of the things that you have in one of the many helpful things that you've shared recently is around routine, setting up your routine. Can you
Yes.
say a little bit about that? And then I want to ask you about brand statement.
The benefit of routine is, and in the new book, Systems Thinking, we talk about your routine plus your relationships equal your revenue. That's the formula for the new book. And routine are the systems you put in place, the habits you create. And I feel like we had routines when we were working. We knew what time we had to get up, what we were wearing to work, how long it was going to take us to do hair and makeup, how long it was going to take us to drive, and what our first meeting was. And so we had invested in routine already without even calling it a system. It was. Now what's happening is you kind of roll out of bed, you dress from the top up, we're living in slippers and all those things. And so what I want people to consider is, what do you want your routine to be? For me, there's 3 things that must happen every day. I must drink my matcha because I love it. It's the first thing that I do. I must move, and I must meditate. And so those 3 things happen before I commit to a lot of work-related activities. And so I think just little routines you can establish. For example, before I go for a walk, I write a love note, put it in my letterbox. So that's part of a routine in my day now. So thinking about how can you create these routines to satisfy what you want to achieve. So for me, that checklist, the daily tracker, I know it sounds crazy, but it even has on there, which is full disclosure, like take your vitamins, because I know I'm supposed to take my vitamins. One would think I would naturally take them, but some mornings if I don't see them, I would miss them. So it's creating routines. In one of our books, Attention Pays, we talk about making time and time, about associating activities with other activities. I listen to podcasts when I put my makeup on because it's the only time that I've made to do that. But it's the association of things. So if you want to create a new routine, create an association with it, right? And that way there's things you're doing, like you might be making your juice or making a coffee or a matcha or a cup of tea. Pick an activity. Maybe, for example, first thing I do when I wake up is say 10 things I'm grateful for before my feet hit the floor. Just 10 things. I'm not allowed out of bed until I say 10 things. Sometimes it's the same 10 things I said yesterday.
Okay.
But it's a routine for me. So mini routines, mini systems of attention are going to help you feel more accomplished. And by the way, some days I don't want to be grateful. Like I wake up and I go, and then I'm like, you know what? You said you would do it. Exactly. I was on this Zoom call this week. My girlfriend Erin is doing these such fun things on Facebook called 10 quarantine questions. And so she asks you these 10 questions, right? And they're ridiculous, so ridiculous. And it's fun too. But one thing that she asked me about was, what's my mantra during this time? And I said to her, my mantra, which I had many years ago for a period in my life where things were really tough, I said the mantra that I had back then, which I've re-engaged now, is do it overwhelmed. I know you're overwhelmed. I know you're tired. Some days you're grumpy. Some days you're happy. Some days you feel crappy. And sometimes you feel crappy and happy in the same hour.
Yeah.
But do it overwhelmed. Just do it anyway. And that's why routines are so important.
That's great. And thanks for inviting me to join you all the other night.
That was fun. I was so glad you were there.
It's hysterical. That is awesome. And by the way, Neen is in Grounded in Gratitude. Her wisdom. That's
a great resource.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for that. So routine, what was the 3 R's? It was routine.
Oh, so the book, it is that your routines plus your relationships equals revenue. And revenue could be referrals, recommendations, direct sales, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
There was a question that was posed here about, saying more about if you're furloughed or fired or redundancy, all of these things. What's been interesting was, so one of my clients is luxury travel. Well, obviously, a lot of my luxury travel clients are being furloughed right now. So when I realized that, I started to help them with resources. And so even if you're looking to maybe reinvent yourself, maybe you haven't been fired, but maybe you want to use this time to reinvent yourself, there's some very simple things you could be doing right now. One routine you might get into is spending time on LinkedIn every day. And whether you're employed or not, we need to spend time on LinkedIn. But what a really great way to think about, okay, today I'm going to update the About Me section, or today I'm going to write 3 recommendations for my team, or 3 recommendations of people that I know. The thing that I love about writing recommendations, and I try and actively do this, is often people see that you've written them a recommendation, it pops in their inbox first thing in the morning, so it's a delightful surprise. And then they want to do the same for you. So I'm not asking you to do it for the return. I'm just saying, if you want to be generous, this is a lovely thing to do. It's also a really good thing to consider that your LinkedIn profile is your personal website. And so there is no greater place for you to have a great profile online. It could also be a great place if you've considered writing. If you want to upload something you've written, write an article for LinkedIn. You never know, people might share it, they might appreciate it. So if you want to use this time to reinvent yourself, there's a couple of practical things you can do. Definitely update your social media profiles. Now is a great time to update any photos you have of yourself. Go across and make it consistent across all the platforms if you use multiple social media platforms. It's also a really good time to choose what platform is going to be most engaging for the type of people you want to play with. I tend to spend the majority of my time on Instagram because my clientele, luxury travel, hospitality, these are people in media who love to be on Instagram. And it's a visual platform, so I really love it. So I'm very diligent about blogging there every day. So one thing you can do is help me out and go and like my Instagram, because apparently you got to have like X number of followers for functionality, which is silly, but that's what it is. Another thing you can do to reinvent yourself is, when's the last time you really did a makeover? Now, I'm not talking about hair and makeup, although that could be beneficial. But when's the last time you really looked at your closet and what you wear on a regular basis, even though we're in quarantine, and you thought, this is my A outfit? Now, ladies, you know you have an A outfit. You know there is something in your wardrobe that when you put it on, you feel amazing. And then we have B outfits. And the B outfits, you know you feel, because you're like, I bought it, so I should really wear it. And then you tug on it and you twist it and you don't feel great in it. Not time to be wearing B outfits. If you want to reinvent yourself, think about A outfits only. Just A outfits. And that means when you get up in quarantine, maybe have a shower, like maybe do your hair. Like seriously, I like to have stilettos on during this call, not for anyone's benefit, but my own, because I love them.
Can we see them? Can you show us?
Sure, hold on one second.
I just have to see.
One moment, please.
She's got the greatest shoes ever. Look at these.
Because I know it seems really silly, but I've been doing this series on Instagram about bringing luxury into your everyday quarantine. And for me, shoes are luxury, jewelry is luxury, drinking out of a Tiffany teacup is luxury. Like, bring something in. So if you want to reinvent yourself, really start with how you're taking care of yourself. Reinventing yourself also might mean that it's time to really visit the circles of people that you associate with. So are there people you've been meaning to reach out to, develop relationships with? Then now is a great time to do it. Like, if you've been meaning, look, we've got wonderful people like Susan Perry on the line. Oh my gosh, Susan's a change leader. So one thing that you might want to think about, if Susan Perry's always been on your radar and you've looked up to her and thought, oh my gosh, she's amazing, Shannon, she's amazing, but you want to develop a relationship, now's the time to do it, people, because I really believe that the people you associate with have such an influence in your everyday. And so I would like people to think about, when you come out of whatever this looks like, what do you want it to look like? Yes. What's your online presence? What's your physical presence? What's your relational presence? What's your physical, like, what do you really want the world to see about you? Because now more than ever before, you get to create that. And that sometimes means we have to be an adult, we have to get up, we have to shower and do our hair and do the things that maybe we used to do, just so we feel good. The other day, Andy came into the bathroom. We have this really pretty bathroom. And I was like putting on my makeup and doing my hair, and I was putting a little caftan on because I love to swan around the house in caftans. And he said, oh, do you have a video call today? And I was like, no, I'm not doing this for you or anyone else. I'm just doing it for myself. And he just like rolled his eyes, and bless him. But I think sometimes you just have to do it for you. So if you want to reinvent yourself, then treat yourself with that incredible respect you would for someone else. Yeah. We don't say ugly things to other people, so don't say ugly things to yourself. So if you wouldn't say it to a little loved one, then don't say it to yourself. So if you want to reinvent yourself, it's what you tell yourself, it's how you see yourself, it's how you treat yourself. And that extends into the world. So I want to challenge people, take care of you first. That's how you reinvent. We need to do, I think for many of us, we get our recognition, accomplishment, satisfaction, as I said at the beginning of our time together, often from our work. And when we don't have that frequency of what we might be used to as leaders, of getting that, you know, high five or that conversation or that recognition, we have to set up these mini projects for ourselves so we feel like we satisfied something, you know. And so maybe there's something you've really been meaning to do in your home. Maybe you've been meaning to update your will. Maybe you've been meaning to put everything in a safe. Maybe you've been meaning to write those letters to your grandchildren. Maybe you've been meaning to do these things. My baby sister, my favorite sister, Candy, she, and I have a lot of sisters, but I shouldn't say that, but she really is my favorite. She's the baby, and our grandfather wrote all the grandkids, great grandkids, a letter. So once he died, they were all able to read it. And she found that when she was cleaning out during quarantine.
No.
So when you think about, she held on to that and scanned it, and we all cried and read it again. And I think that there's so many things we could do right now. And if you have little people right now and they have the ability to journal, get them to capture what's happening in their world, because they're living through history. And they'll get the opportunity to pass that down to their kids when they're older. So there's so many ways we can leverage this time, and you can reinvent yourself. Or you know what? Some days you can just eat ice cream and watch Netflix and cry. And you know what? That's okay, because that's reality too. Roller coaster. It's just a roller coaster.
Absolutely. Well, this was a high for me.
Me too.
Grateful.
So fun.
You're always a light in the dark. So thank you, Neen, for being you and for contributing and sharing all of these awesome thoughts. And like Susie just pitched in to thank you also.
You guys are the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love you. Be well.
You too.
All right. Bye.